right, let's continue the conversation. We heard a little earlier, we spoke to the ARMSCOR chairperson, Philip Dexter, who says the Democratic Alliance and the United States ambassador to South Africa, Reuben Brigety, should be held accountable for the Lady R allegations. Well, to respond to that conversation, we speak now to Kobus Marias. He is from the Democratic Alliance. Mr. Marias, thank you very much for your time. Philip Dexter, the chairperson of ARMSCOR, says that you, as a political party, should apologize because of the untruths you continue to peddle, which is hurting South Africa's standing in the world. How do you respond?
Well, good morning. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I've listened to Mr. Dexter, or Dr. Dexter, and his allegations. It seems like his best position of defense is attacking the DA and America. I'm not here to talk about America and defend America. That's not my task. They are capable of doing that themselves. We will not apologize for doing our work, and I will never be apologetic for holding the government account and government agencies. There's nothing to apologize for. If it's the honest and the truth, and so far during all these periods, all my information and intelligence have been corroborated time and again. So there's nothing to apologize for. We are there to hold a government account, and if that means that, pointing out that they haven't been honest and truthful with South Africa, and that is damaging South Africa as a trade and international relations, they must take the full responsibility for that. We know that the last 30 years they've made a mess of South Africa. Our economy is down in the dumps. We know that cadre deployment has been identified by the Zondo Commission, and Minister Dr. Dexter is a product of cadre deployment himself. So he is in no position to make such allegations against us if they are dishonest about that. There's nothing that I have said all the time since December. And I mean, to be honest with you, I haven't spoken to Dr. Dexter about this at any point, but there was other senior officials in ARMSCOR that I have spoken about, and at the time it was confirmed to be truth. And my information was from day one. From that first evening that the Lady R arrived in Simonstown under the cloud of so-called secrecy and working during the nights, only the nights, my information was 100% correct, and so I've got nothing to apologize for. They must apologize for doing the wrong things and acting illegally and unusually. For instance, I heard Dr. Dexter said he doesn't want to respond in terms of them using Simonstown. Remember, the NCACC, in terms of the Act, determines ports of entry where arms must be offloaded or loaded. Simonstown is not on that list, and it can only happen with high-level authority and concessions from Department of Home Affairs and other government agencies to use another port other than the official customs ports of entry. Yeah. Now, he hasn't responded to that because he has got no defense to that. So, and that is reality. And what was offloaded, he says that it is endangering the lives of soldiers. That is absolutely untruth, because that information was disclosed to us as a Joint Standing Committee on Defense in an open meeting. So it is a public document, and everybody has got access to those documents where permits for imports from Russia has been reported about. And I have never had a problem with the principle that we have had prior to the war to import from Russia. For instance, AK-47s and AK-47 bullets, because it is known that our soldiers are using that, especially our special forces, and I've got no problem. I haven't criticized them once on that.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Marias. You say that based on your intelligence, let me remind you what the President said on Sunday, and I quote now, from its investigation, the panel found no evidence that any cargo of weapons was loaded for export onto the Lady R ship. Let me conclude with this. I'm going to move quickly to the last line. None of the persons who made these allegations could provide any evidence to support the claims that had been leveled against our country. I close quote. Did you present any evidence before the inquiry that was investigating this?
I have never claimed since day one that arms was loaded or ammunition was loaded or weapons was loaded. I have been very frank from day one because my intelligence was it was not weapons. It was not manufactured weapons that was loaded, very specifically. So I've got nothing to apologize because I've never claimed that weapons was loaded. What I said right from the beginning is that it was not apples and pears. So what was loaded onto that vessel 3 o'clock on Friday morning before it left Simonstown Harbour? Now, remember what the minister herself said and Dr. Dexter himself in interviews. The minister first said we loaded F-all. Then she came back and said we did not load anything. And then thirdly, she said, and Mr. Dexter said this in another interview as well, it might have been a clandestine party who loaded something. Now, why did both of them? I never said that. They said that. Both the minister in Parliament, it is in Hansard, and Minister Dr. Dexter is on record by saying that it might have been a clandestine party. Now, what do they know about a clandestine party that we don't know?
Here's the point.
So who's honest and who's not? Who's honest and who's not?
Here's the point, Mr. Marias. A report has now been finalized, whose contents, by the way, we are not going to know because that remains classified. But safe to say that that report has concluded that none of the allegations that were initially made by the U.S. ambassador, which has been damaging for our economy, the rand, including our status in AGOA. Do you think that it is prudent, therefore, to continue with these claims, knowing full well what this is doing to the reputation of our country?
Well, I'm not here to speak for or about the ambassador, and I've never based my claims on any intelligence or information from the Americans or the American embassy in South Africa. I haven't consulted with them since December. I have never used any intelligence received from them. I have not received intelligence from them. So I've made my allegations and my facts that I've stated based on corroborated information. And I must say, some of my information certainly doesn't come from the Americans, but it comes from very reliable sources, and some of them inside government. So, and some of the institutions. So I've got no problem in terms of my information. That is the honest truth, and I've got no doubt to rely on them 100%. What the Americans have said, they must defend for themselves. I'm not here to talk and defend for them. However, I just wanted to say, when the American ambassador came out, that was a huge surprise to me, but it also feels like, that has vindicated what I have said for about 6 months. And remember, the minister has never walked back on what she has said in Parliament, neither has Dr. Dexter. So where did they get that information from? And remember, what I'm doing is not based on the Americans. I've got nothing to do with them. I've got no accountability to them. I've got no responsibility to them. It doesn't care to me what they do. All that I am doing is holding the government accountable for putting us into this predicament, because they have gone way and beyond what they are supposed to do, and they've tried to wipe this under the carpet, and now they're trying to put the blame on the Democratic Alliance for doing our job after they've messed it up.
Final question, sir. So how do we put this matter to rest? Because, as I say, I'm beginning to sound like a stuck record. The evidence
Yes.
produced thus far, or should we say the conclusions of an investigation, are that no weapons were loaded for export except weapons that had been ordered by South Africa back in 2018 that were offloaded from that ship. So what do we do now as a country? Do we let this matter, do we put it to rest, or are you going to continue on the path that you have been?
Well, the only way that we can put it to rest is government, if government comes out and being honest and truthful about this. Because, for instance, there's no record of any order from 2018. And even for what the president has claimed, equipment. In fact, it was in 2019 and 2020 when 2 permits was granted for the importation of ammunition with a description of rounds and shells. So there was never any equipment that was ordered from them. So there's nothing that is secret about that. There's nothing that should be secret about that. The whole report should be disclosed. Remember that the report and the so-called findings, which we don't know what that is and what that are, what they are based that on. But that is also subject to what was the instructions and the scope given to the panel. If it was only to investigate whether weapons, and per se weapons was loaded, then I don't find it strange that they couldn't find any evidence, because that is not our allegation that there was weapons loaded. But did they find any unusual or irregularity for the vessel not porting in Cape Town? Was there any answers or explanations given to that? No. I can tell you that the NCACC has got a list of ports in South Africa that any exports and imports must happen via, as I said right in the beginning, and Simonstown is not one of them. So it is only within exceptional that Simonstown may be used, and I haven't seen or heard any evidence or any indication of that being the case. Remember, if the president wants to be honest with South Africa, he can use Parliament. We deal with confidential and classified information on a daily basis. And if we are in a closed session, we are bound not to say anything what happened inside that meeting. Right. I was part of a closed session meeting the week before the lady arrived, and information was shared with us that is of highly classified and confidential nature. I haven't disclosed that to anybody, not even to my leader, and I'm honest about that. Right. So why can't he share this with us, even in a redacted form? He's not even prepared to do that, and that tells you everything that we need to know.
Kobus Marias, let me thank you very much for your time. He is a member of the Democratic Alliance in respect of the matter that we are discussing here. And you heard him refer to the National Conventional Arms Control Committee. Well, the investigation did make findings and recommendations with respect to the functioning of this particular committee.